It's Friday, August 17th, and I'm your host, Sarah Beal. On today's show, we learn how to prepare our boat for a hurricane, discover cool late summer programs for kids, learn more about beach schedules for the remainder of the summer. Let's start with some news you can use. Town Council recognized the town of Barnstable lifeguards last night who worked to save a 17-year-old Highness girl on July 3rd at Colville's Beach. Strong work by all the staff at Colville's Beach and to recreation staff for making sure all our lifeguards are ready and prepared to protect our residents and visitors at all town beaches. Also at last night's Town Council meeting, the discussion on amending Chapter 240 of the zoning ordinance relating to marijuana was continued to September after Councillor James Tinsley, Precinct 9, called for a charter objection. Hurricane season is upon us, and having a plan for your boat is important. Mooring officer and assistant harbor master Brian Taylor has some important things to consider to protect your vessel.
With me today on the phone, Brian Taylor, assistant harbor master. We're talking hurricanes. Brian, welcome.
Good morning, Paula. Thank you for having me on the show this morning.
So, it is hurricane season, and there are so many precautions for boaters to understand about the season. Let's talk a little bit about boating and hurricanes. Give us some tips about what people should do with their vessels in this really terrible area of Cape Cod when a hurricane strikes.
Yeah, Paul. So first off, hurricane season runs from June 1st to the end of November. The peak season for our area is between mid-August through October. Most of the hurricanes that occur in September. That's most of the activity that occurs will occur in September. So that's right around the corner. People need to be aware that they should take precautions if a hurricane is in the forecast and well before that. Hurricanes can cause storm surge, rough tidal conditions with a storm surge about 10 plus feet, and most of the breakwater that protects some of the mooring fields like Lewis Bay and Hyannisport could be fully submerged, and vessels could be susceptible to winds and other storm surge because of that. A couple important notes to make. Plan ahead. Don't be complacent. I know in the past few years we haven't had any major hurricanes, but they can occur. Don't expect, because a hurricane is a Category 1, that it's going to stay a Category 1. So you need to plan ahead and be prepared. My advice as a mooring officer would be to haul your vessel out. You need to make plans now with a mooring servicer or a hauling company, or even an emergency contact if you're out of the area. You need to make plans well ahead of time on what to do with your vessel. And another important aspect of this is some people have vessels that are stored at their house, and they're on stands or lifts, and they need to make sure that those vessels are secure as well as at their house, because with winds upwards of 90 to 100 miles an hour, that can push over a vessel that's on stands. So if you can't get your boat out of the water, here's a couple other things you can do. You can remove sails, antennas, electronics, any non-permanent equipment such as deck chairs, rafts, boxes. Make sure you get all your valuables out of it. Portable fuel tanks, gas and propane, that's an important one. Make sure all fuel is removed from the vessel. Try to run your vessel down so there's no fuel left in the tank. Make sure all your everything's pumped out of that vessel if you need a pump out from our pump out program. Make sure that your bilges and batteries are running. That way that if you do get some excess water, it can pump it out. As well as make sure you secure all windows, hatches, and fuel lines and cooking appliances. Try to make sure that your boat is as watertight as possible. And most importantly, if your boat is going to stay on a mooring or on one of the town marinas or private marinas, make sure you take a look at your lines. Add some more lines. Make sure the lines are fairly new if you can. Make sure they're a little bit larger in diameter. That way they can deal with the heavy winds or seas that may occur. And most importantly, don't stay with your vessel. I want to kind of stress that. I know people their vessels and their boats are, everything to them, and they want to watch over them the whole time and leave their house and look at them out in the mooring field or at the marina. But it's most important, your vessel can be replaced, you can't, so make sure you don't stay with your vessel.
That's great advice, Brian. What about those boats that they bring to get to their boats, those skiffs and those dories that are out on the beaches? What happens to those?
Yeah, so we'd ask that everyone would remove those because due to the high storm surge, those will end up floating away, breaking off from where they're attached to, and be a hazard to navigation, as well as, after the storm passes, you're going to be collecting all your stuff, and it could sink. It could be out in Nantucket Sound or Cape Cod Bay, and create an issue for navigation or the Coast Guard because they're not sure if someone was on that vessel. So we'd advise that you remove and bring that gear home.
So how should people monitor these types of storms? Is it a week out? Is it 2 days out? What's the time frame that people should be kind of thinking that they've got to haul that boat?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, like I said, you want to be prepared now. You want to make those calls now and make sure that you have set up an emergency contact. That way, if you're out of the area and you have a vessel in the water, someone can come and either remove your vessel or put extra lines on it. There's not a magic number, but I would say, hurricanes come from down in the Caribbean, and I would say you want to take a look at when they're developed and make sure you're paying attention to the weather and the news a week in advance at least. Like I said, don't be complacent with it. Hurricanes can say, the forecast can change whenever. It's Cape Cod and the forecast changes all the time, but especially with hurricanes, I think it's important to note that the Harbor Master Program and the Harbor Master Department can send out a mass email to all mooring permit holders and kind of say, hey, we're expecting high winds or high storm surge, and that was a new program that we rolled out last year. So we'll try to do that well in advance. That way, if you're out of the area or you're overseas, you can get that email and make take the necessary steps to make sure your vessel is either hauled out or secure.
That's excellent advice. Anything else you want people to know, Brian?
No, I mean, like I said, September is our most active month. It doesn't just have to be a hurricane. It can be a nor'easter. I know last year we had a few nor'easters. You need to make sure that your vessel is secure. You're responsible for your vessel. The Harbor Master's Department, will do our best to help you out, but you are the one that needs to make sure your vessel is secure.
Right. Well, thank you so much for this important information. We appreciate it, Brian.
Thank you.
Take care.
As parents skip down the school supply aisles, remember there's still a week of fun with Barnstable Recreation's late summer programs. Who wants to be a mad scientist? Program coordinator George Noonan has all the details. 3, 2.
Well, the summer fun is almost done at Barnstable Recreation. With me today, George Noonan, program coordinator, but it's not quite done. There's still some cool stuff happening.
There definitely is, Paula. Thank you for having me. And we have a couple programs, both start next week. The first one being our end of summer vacation program, which is a 5-day program, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. Price is $150, and then includes cost of field trips and care for the whole week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mad science. I want to talk about mad science a little bit. What's going on here?
Mad Science is this great group of scientists and teachers who perform after-school programs and camps and activities and all these different things all over across the country. And they're coming to Hyannis next week, Monday through Friday again, but this one's only 9 to 12, and it's also $150. And their theme this year is Eureka, Let's Invent.
Oh, how cool.
So the idea is to try to get kids out using their hands, try to create something, kind of build something. Very cool.
Okay, and that's at the Hyannis Youth Community
right
Center?
in the Shepley Room.
Right in the Shepley Room. So that's Mad Science.
Mad
and
Science.
That's, how long are these programs?
They're both a week.
Okay.
Again, the Mad Science runs 9 to noon, and the whole vacation week program runs 8 to 4:30.
Okay.
We've got some great field trips planned there. We're going to go bowling. We're going to go play mini golf. We're going to go to the Legoland Discovery Center in Somerville one day. Yeah.
Can I go?
I think the fan's full.
All right.
Sorry. I got to draw a line somewhere, and you're the line.
So this is kind of a really good, as parents are starting, they're really actually looking forward to having their children go back to school, I'm assuming, at this time of year. This last week, the kids are going to be a little bit crazy, I would imagine. They know that they're going back to school, but this is a good week for the parents to get these kids in and get their last-minute things done,
Yeah,
too.
it's for us, it's an opportunity to provide a service that some kids need, some parents need, I know as my son gets older, that's something definitely I'll need,
Right.
for my son when he gets older. But yeah, that last week's always tough because camp ends, leisure program ends this Friday, a lot of camps end this Friday, and then it is that strange gap between the two, and so the idea is just to kind of fill that and offer that to families who need it.
Right. So how do people actually get their kids into these programs?
You swing by the HYCC and register there, or if you have a household set up with us, you can do it online through the Town of Barnstable Recreation website.
Okay.
On the Town of Barnstable page, or Recreation page on the Town of Barnstable website, excuse me.
Okay. And let's just repeat the dates. So it's the last week of August?
Last week, August the 20th and 24th, both programs. Mad
Okay.
Science runs just in the morning from 9 to noon, and the vacation program runs all day 8 to 4:30.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, George.
Thanks for having me.
Lifeguards, bathhouses, and beaches will have some changes in the coming days and weeks. We find out when with Assistant Recreation Director John Gleason.
More end of the summer activities. Can't believe it's really the end of the summer. With me today, John Gleason, Assistant Director of Barnstable Recreation. The beaches are starting to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a sad moment for all of us. A lot of our staff, in particular lifeguards, supervisors, are back to college or back to their real job, or back to high school sports that are coming up very shortly. So we will be closing down some sites in the near future because of lack of staff.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Lack of staff, beach operations kind of like get scaled back. Let's talk about the areas that do not have a lifeguard after a certain period of time.
Yep, so we always try to make sure that we keep lifeguards on where we feel like we can service the most amount of public. So we try to close down a lot of our smaller sites that aren't as big as other ones first. So the first one that closed down was Hamlin's Pond, and that was yesterday. They finished up with their swim carnival where the swim lesson kids came to the beach, and then yesterday, going forward, we have a gate attendant on. So the bathrooms will still be open for a day or so, and then it will just be closed completely. And then if people would like to go there, they're still more than welcome to swim there. There's just no facilities available to them.
Okay.
So they could go to like Joshua's Pond, Dallas Beach, Quacket Lake, something like that for the next few days.
Right, so those are some of the larger sites that
Yeah.
will have those folks. So let's run down how we're going to kind of like roll through these areas.
Yeah. So starting the 17th is kind of the next sort of cut that we
Right.
have. And that will be Loop Beach, Quacket Lake, Joshua's Pond, and Millway Beach,
Okay.
where we're losing that amount of lifeguards that we can't cover the towers. But fortunately enough, we will have gate attendants there that will be checking parking permits. They'll have the bathrooms open, so at least people can still go to those facilities, enjoy the beach, and have a facility to go to the bathroom.
Right.
And like I said, it's a hard decision for us to make, but when we don't have lifeguards, there's nothing we can really do about it. And,
Right.
So those are for those dates, and then after that, the 22nd will be closing down with lifeguards C Street Beach. The 23rd will be Calmus Beach, and the 24th will be Veterans Beach.
Okay.
So pretty much after that, it will be Colville's, Craigville, Dallas's, Sandy Neck. And we go as long as we can until we can, we have to have minimum requirements of lifeguards on duty so they can, cover the water and rotate out and stuff like that. So we like I said, we do our best and try to make it work.
Right. Well, really long summer. We just went to the lifeguard competition last week, which was absolutely phenomenal. So we know these kids have worked really hard all summer long to keep folks safe. We've had, obviously some incidents at our beaches where they were right there and their training kicked in. So let's talk a little bit about how to keep folks safe when there isn't a lifeguard on the beach.
I mean, the biggest thing is always if you're going to go swimming, swim with a partner. You know, just if you go by yourself, there's no one watching you. If something happens in the water, there's no one by your side to help you out. So that's always the biggest thing. Okay. You know, I would just, you know, call upon a friend, you know, just or let people know where you are, what you're doing. And if you don't have someone to go with, then just swim close to shore. So at least if something happens, at least you could, you know, stand up and you'd be all right. But like I said, you should always get a partner to go swimming with.
That's the best advice out there.
Yeah.
So our smaller sites will be, some of them are closed the next week or so. It's just going to be a rolling piece. The bathhouses, gate attendants, things like that.
Yeah, we'll try to make sure that we post it on our Facebook page and
Okay.
try to get it onto the town's Facebook page, and all those sort of things are linked to our Twitter pages and stuff like that.
Okay.
Which I forgot to mention, if you're going to be bringing your children to these locations, you know, the adults, guardians, whoever is supervising that day should always be within, you know, arm's length of their child or supervising them, you know, trying to stay off your cell phone. I know earlier this summer we posted a piece from Good Morning America about parents going to a pool party, and, you know, with all the distractions of being on your cell phone, cooking and grilling, talking to friends, you kind of lose track of your children.
Right.
And we know everyone in this community loves their children, so
Right.
you know, try to avoid any distractions, stay off your cell phone, you know, try not to read a book.
Right.
You know, if your kids are in the water, pay good or close attention to them, because you should be the first one to be able to respond to them. And that
Right.
goes the same as if we had lifeguards on duty.
Right.
The parent or guardian should be the closest person to their child swimming, and then
Right.
we're there to assist from there.
Right. And I remember as a kid having some friends that weren't really well suited in the water. They hadn't had a lot of swim lessons. Just put a flotation device on these kids.
Yeah, you can always do that. The one that I see mostly and what I put on my own child is one that has the things around both arms, and then it
Right.
goes around their back.
Right.
Sometimes if they just have the arm floaties, those could slip off and fall
Right.
off. You know, even if they have a kickboard or something like that, you know, that could get away from them, and then they would be trying to swim out to it, and
Right.
you know, so it just makes things difficult.
Right. So be safe in the water. You know, check the Facebook page. You'll see which sites have closed facilities, as well as lifeguards all going back to school.
Yeah, yep. I know my wife would be upset because she's a teacher, so she doesn't want to hear that word back to school yet. She wants to enjoy the summer, you know, the rest of the summer with
Right.
with our own kids, but school is approaching, and
It certainly
summer is
is.
ending soon. But we have still you know, 2.5 weeks left till Labor Day, so get out there and enjoy every bit of it.
Excellent. Thank you so much,
Oh,
John.
thank you very much.
The 44th annual Cape Cod Life Saving Competition was held last week. Channel 18 was there, and we show that piece with you now.
We're at Craigville Beach for the 44th annual Cape Cod Life Saving Competition. Certainly, it's a real privilege to be here with all these teams. There's 150 lifeguards here, 10 teams, 9 from the Cape and 1 from Maine. There's such a wonderful representation of each of our communities and what they do and how they interact, both serving as, in the more extreme case, a first response to an emergency situation, but in general just interacting with our residents and our visitors and representing all of us. And I'm just proud of them. This is one of my favorite days as a resident, and certainly as a municipal employee, and I look forward to it. I hope they have a great competition today.
I am proud. I'm proud of the staff, Barnstable staff that helped put this all together. John Gleason and Timmy, the three of us have been meeting for months and months to prepare for this. It doesn't just happen. Just the understanding for the residents and the people in that community, to understand what it takes to be a lifeguard. So it was a big challenge, and they decided that in order for people to see and get to witness this, and for other lifeguards to communicate with each other so they could share stories, share issues, and be able to progress the lifeguarding industry along. That's what helps. This is what helps.
So we've got running events, swimming events, and paddling. We actually just finished a 4x400 co-ed swim relay where they swim out 200 yards, swim around a buoy, come in. We had a 4x1 mile run relay earlier. Then we've got a couple different events where we combine running, swimming, and paddling.
Well, it just brings them together, and they're able to show off their skills to the other lifeguards on the Cape and the one team from Maine, and also show the community that's here, what kind of skills they have and what they're capable of. It's just a great team bonding event, and then also to talk to other lifeguards from other areas and see what their challenges are, and kind of just work through some things. So, if they see that situation, then they can handle it. So it's a great time to mix and mingle and compete.
There's a lot more to it, but today they get to see the fitness challenge, a part of it, which is pretty intense.
Did the co-ed paddle sprint relay, so I sprinted a quarter mile and my partner paddled, I think it was 400 yards.
Primarily supposed to be like kind of a fun event, but we are still like competitive. We always try to win, and so like we all just kind of come together, try to have a good time and do our best, and at the end of the day, as long as we had a good time, it's all that matters really.
Now let's take a look at the community calendar. Have you ever wanted to learn how to shellfish? Have you been before, but you're still looking for more tips? Here is your chance. Clamoring for All People is on Sunday, August 19th at 1 p.m. at Bridge Street Landing in Rostaville. We were out earlier this summer to catch some of the fun and shellfishing at the first clamming class.
It doesn't help though.
They've been going really well. We've luckily had beautiful weather. This weekend was awesome. It was really great to see a lot of fathers bringing their kiddos out for Father's Day, and there's plenty of clams out there. We really loaded it up this year, so over 45 bushels. So it should be pretty easy for the kiddos to find the clams too. And we've seen a lot of happy faces, so it's always fun. It's been really good this year so far. We dig other propagation areas where the quahogs are planted very densely, and then we'll use this area to spread them around and give it a more natural feel. Somewhere that, there's a good parking area here and a lot of people can walk, so we try to bring the clams closer to the people and make it easier for them to access them. So we just loaded up the area, flew the clams off the boat, and it's great, so people are really finding them pretty easily this time. Yeah, so for a resident, we have a resident permit that's $40, and that's good for the entire year. And you can get a full peck of quahogs, a full peck of steamers. You can get a full peck of mussels on top of that. So really great. It opens up the doors for all your shellfish needs. So $40 for a resident permit, then you can pick up at our office at Marine Environmental Affairs. We also have non-resident permits for $140, and it may seem like a lot, but with all the shellfish that you can get for it, it's totally worth it. Especially, it's good through oyster season too. So in November you can get a half peck of oysters, and that's about 40 to 50 oysters. So yeah, come on down, get your permit. It's open to everyone. And we're even trying to find places for non-residents to park because we know that's been an issue. So we're really working on that to be able to bring more people down to the landing and get their own food. We've had so much success with the clamming class for kids that adults are trying to sneak into our class too, which is absolutely fine. The more the merrier, you know, it's really great. But it is a little different teaching a kid than teaching an adult. So these classes will be geared more towards adults, but kids are obviously welcome. Anyone can come by. We're going to have more on recipes, more on how we regulate the shellfish. So sizes are very important. Some of the key regulations that you need to know if you're going out shellfishing. Maps and recipes for cooking them, because that's really important too once you get the shellfish. We would love to have people come down so we can teach you more about it.
I'm Sarah Beal, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.